Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Marouane from IE Real Estate Institute. I've been before with the Dubai Real Estate Institute as a senior advisor and a trainer in the past couple of years. I welcome you to this session. This is the first of many sessions to come. Hopefully we'll keep the pace, one session monthly to start with. But this is the first, and we are very pleased, very honored to have two of our most prominent experts who have been for decades with the Dubai Real Estate Institute and with other entities, with Dubai Land Department, with RERA as senior advisors, are experts, consultants, and most importantly, these are the top notch of practitioners in real estate. We did on purpose, we've chosen one with a very vast background in community management, and the other one in very vast background as well in anything that has to do with the brokerage side of the industry. So join me to give a warm welcome to Mr. Jeevan D'Mello, our expert in community management. I'll start later on with giving you the introduction, the background, the bio that you deserve, Jeevan, and sorry for any shortcomings. Ms. Hiba, our expert in brokerage industry, again, Ms. Hiba comes with a very extensive experience in terms of the brokerage industry. Ms. Hiba, I'll start with Hiba if you don't mind, Jeevan.
Absolutely, ladies first always.
So Mr. Hiba Jaber has been consultant and trainer with Dubai Real Estate Institute. From the onset, from the start, she specialized, as I said, in real estate brokerage, regulation, and real estate education. She has been instrumental in the start of Dubai Real Estate Institute, giving a variety of courses, introducing herself and designing a variety of courses in real estate brokerage. She's been before a senior auditor at KPMG Chicago office. She's been doing a lot of consulting as well. And after moving to Dubai, she joined Landmark Property as the COO of Landmark Property. She has been leading a team of 200 professionals and managed the operation of human resources, administration, finance, and the legal department of Landmark Properties. In addition, she's a member of different associations like the National Association of Realtors, NAR, International Realtor member, and earned Certificate Real Estate Brokerage Manager, CRB, and accredited by representative ABR designation throughout her career. Welcome, Ms. Hiba.
Thank you, Dr. Marouane. And
I hope we'll not be giving you a hard time with the question. I know you are more than up to it.
But it's always a pleasure. So I just want to thank you to say that it's my honor and it's a pleasure to be with you and with Jeevan.
Likewise, thank you so much. Mr. Jeevan D'Mello, he's known as the father of community management in the Middle East. I think you all know that community management in the Middle East started relatively recently. So he's been pioneering this field of expertise. He's trained as an architect. He's popularly known as the father of community management in the Middle East. His career reached a senior position with Amar, the iconic real estate developer. He's been behind some of the landmarks in Dubai. He's been in the setting up the community management side of Amar Properties, managing more than hundreds of towers, 14,000 homes, and some of the most iconic properties, including Burj Khalifa, and you name it. The assets being managed by Mr. Jeevan are more than $40 billion in terms of assets. And then from Amar, he's been also instrumental in setting up Nakhil Community Management, where he's been responsible for managing master properties on the Palm Island, the gardens, Discovery Gardens, Nadushiba Villas, International City, Jumeirah Park, to name a few. He's also active researcher and author of several publications. He's, in terms of designation, it's going to take me another 5 minutes to list the publications and all the abbreviations, really. Some of them I'm familiar with, and to be honest, some of them I'm not even familiar with them. I'm sorry for that.
You don't have to go through all that.
So sorry. Okay.
Absolutely.
So he has been also active in the international, as active as in Dubai. He's been very active in the international market, in different countries, from US back to Spain to Italy, all over Europe, South America as well. He's been even publishing a book in Spanish, Los Mejores Administrados del Oficio del Mundo, that being a bit of Spanish speaker, so I would know
yes.
that one. Yeah. So he's been instrumental in terms of scholarly output, and we really are pleased to have you, Jeevan, with us today. So just to cut it short, the format is very simple. It's going to be more than an interview or a panel discussion. It will be a professional sweet chat between two of our experts. So I'm going to leave the room to you, both of you, to address the audience, but we try to stick to the format. That is, the first 15 minutes, we're going to address the challenges faced by real estate professionals in Dubai. And then we'll be addressing them in terms of what are the skills needed, and then how education can address that. And then we address the questions raised by our respected audience. So welcome, everyone. We take it from here at the start. I'm going to ask the question, and the floor is open to both of you, Jeevan or Hiba, who's to start first. What are the key challenges that the industry and real estate professionals are facing? We can say in the Middle East, but our focus is mainly on the Dubai market. What are the challenges faced? And I'm not going to focus on COVID, post-COVID, and because it's becoming very classic. So what are the key challenges that are faced by real estate professionals? The floor is yours. Who starts first?
Hiba, I will ask you to start first.
Sure, no problem. So again, thanks for having me. And I'm so glad to participate in what I hope to make more of a continuous type of expert panels, again, with the hopes, with the intention of educating the public, and I hope they see value in it. So the challenge, as you rightfully mentioned, Dr. Marouane, the challenges for the real estate industry, and of course, I'm going to be tackling and focusing more, of course, on the brokerage side of the business, is not exclusive to Dubai. It is definitely most of the challenges that we talk about in Dubai. It's pretty much shared and faced by many real estate brokerages and brokers all over the world. But of course, we are in Dubai and we're trying to focus on our industry. So not even a UAE, but more about the Dubai model. So there have been, and there will always be, challenges faced in the real estate profession, as I mentioned, specifically the brokerage, and primarily because the ever-changing, I guess, industry, the real estate industry in Dubai being an ever-changing market, kind of in itself poses a challenge, because you have to adapt. In order for you to survive, you have to be able to innovate, you have to be adaptable for that change, which is a challenge in itself. So I hope both Jeevan and Dr. Marouane, my experts today hosting this session with me, agree with my statement saying that real estate market in Dubai over the past 6 months, so I'm just focusing, kind of like my short-term mindset here, have managed to shift from what we have seen for a long time, a market that was more dictated by buyers, to more of a seller's market. Now, having said that, I really want to qualify this statement before everybody goes crazy on me, to say that this is actually the case, not in all areas of Dubai, but in some areas in Dubai. We've seen that shift in the market conditions, where we have many buyers, specifically end users. These end users are interested in moving into communities, basically, that offer, when I say a full offering community, from schools to hospitals, clinics, proper infrastructure. And again, not that I want to highlight COVID's role in the real estate industry, but it has kind of forced people to work from home and study from home and work out from home. So we've seen that shift. So with that, the reason why I'm highlighting this point, that shift from from buyer's market to seller's market, is the challenge of very few listings now in those areas, right? So again, I'm not going to stand here and tell you what these areas are. We can have a separate session on that. But in those specific areas, what agents are facing now is the hardship in landing listings, right? So now you have buyers, they're interested, but not enough listing to go around, right? So this is, I do believe, one of the most recent challenge that is faced by a lot of agents in Dubai. And add to that also the fact that now we have a challenge of so much competition and the lack of exclusivity on the listings. This is something, Dr. Marouane, I've highlighted in my courses over the years. And this is simply because I come from a background or a little bit of an industry in the US where most listings, as a matter of fact, all listings are done on an exclusive basis. Dubai is a different market, right? It's just a complete different way they do business. And it really stems from the fact that sellers lack the education as to why they are better off listing their specific property with one agent exclusively rather than 10 or 20 agents. They have that mindset, I want to say, maybe culture-wise, that the more agents they sign up with, the quicker the property can get sold, or maybe the higher price. And really, on the contrary, what they're doing is, as a matter of fact, making it harder for that property to sell, because now you have agents competing against one another, agents basically listing the property at different prices to attract the buyers. So imagine all that now happening in a market, not enough listings, right? Lots of buyers are interested. So all of a sudden, Dr. Marouane, we're noticing a trend that was never noticed in Dubai before. And I should never say never, but for the most part, never noticed in Dubai, where you have clients now bidding against one another. There's almost like a bidding war, and they're going actually above the listing price with their offering price, which is, again, not something we've seen in Dubai's market. I've witnessed, and I say witnessed, personally witnessed a transaction whereby the buyer made an offer on a property without even viewing the property, right? Now, this is something, again, very customary for us to see and witness in some cities in the US, but not in Dubai, right? Yeah. So we are seeing these kind of, trends happening. These are challenges. Why? Because like I said, these are changes. You as an agent, as a brokerage company, need to figure out ways to adapt to those changes. Otherwise, you're pretty much going to lose yourself in the process and lose your business. Right. So this is, I believe, I don't know if I have more time, I can address more changes, but I'd like to maybe leave the floor for Jeevan to take it from there. And of course, if we have time, I can address more challenges.
Thanks, Hiba. Just sorry, Jeevan, before you take the word, we have one participant. It's not a question, so I'm not interrupting because of the question. He added one very interesting challenge that is raised because of the health crisis, the COVID, the pandemic. He said, can we add to that the challenges of international clients who are not able to fly into Dubai and make the payment? So I think that could be a valid point as well.
Absolutely. And just I'm not sure who that participant was, but I'm completely on board with that being a challenge that we need to address. Last year, so during the lockdown, Dubai Land Department did facilitate what we call the, if I want to call it online or remote transfers. Now, this has been put on hold for many reasons. And again, this is not the proper platform for me to address why it has been on hold. But I can assure you, with going along with Sheikh Mohammed's vision of having the governments being set up as smart governments, this is a part of time before this will be allowed again.
Yeah, thanks, Hiba. Appreciate it. Jeevan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Hiba, and everything you said is so true and so important for us to consider. And when you're talking about brokerage, I want to move towards real estate management, and we all know that buying a property or selling a property is just the first part of the process. When people buy the property, they have to either live in that property or they have to lease that property out. And that's where the real estate management thing kicks in. And one of the challenges that I believe a lot of us as real estate professionals face is not understanding the differences in this very vast profession. So when you talk about real estate management, we have, besides brokerage and buying and selling, we also talk about property management. And then we talk about community management, and then facilities management. And a lot of us get confused. What's the difference? I'm a property manager, same as a community management, same as, no, it's different. Property management is completely different. Community management is different. Facilities management is different. We are all under the same mother brand or profession called real estate management. So for us to understand this is one of the paramount things we must consider. The second is also, what are the areas of responsibilities for community association managers? Now, for me, I've actually developed a model which I call the 6 areas of responsibility, which is operational, technical, financial, social, compliance, and corporate. So within the 6 areas, you have the entire community management profession, and it's a sort of a framework within which you have to operate. But we do not have a comprehensive knowledge of the industry. And that's why a lot of us as community managers, we try to get better jobs, or we try to get better clients if we run a business, but we're not able to attract people because we do not have that comprehensive knowledge. And when I talk about comprehensive knowledge, we need to have knowledge about the roles and responsibilities of the various stakeholders in the process. Now, the stakeholders are the developers, the managers, the owners, the residents, the service providers, and the regulators. Now, each of them is a very important stakeholder, but each of them have different roles and responsibilities. And we should need to understand what are their roles and responsibilities so that we can cater to their different audience. And we need to cater to all of them. A developer's role is quite different from an owner. An owner's role is quite different from a resident, because you can be an owner, but you don't have to be a resident. Or you could be an owner and you can be a resident. And then, of course, is the community manager. He or she has a role and a responsibility. So understanding this is a big challenge. And the other challenge I see, and I'm only talking about community management at this point of time, is about service charges or service fees. We all talk about service charges, and that's a very hot topic with everybody, whether they are managers, residents, owners, everybody talks about it. But what are these service charges? Why do you need these service charges? How do you prove to an owner that you need to pay these service charges? Unfortunately, a lot of us community managers, we don't know. We don't know the answer. So if we don't know the answer, how are we supposed to convince that resident out there or that owner out there that these are the charges that have to be paid by the owner or the landlord and not by the tenant? Because a lot of the landlords come to me and say, I'm not living in that property. Why should I pay the service charges? Charge it to my tenant. And the tenant comes to me, should I be paying the service charges? And sometimes as community managers, we don't know the right answer. So we need to know these right answers to understand to do our job properly. And last but not the least is about dealing with difficult customers. And customers become difficult because we are not able to address their needs. We are not able to answer their questions. And I believe these are the challenges that not only community managers face, of course, property managers and the other facets of the industry, but it's very key for us as community managers to address these kind of challenges. Dr. Marouane?
Thank you so much. Thank you. These challenges are very relevant, and they are, like I said, they are not just contextualized because of the COVID. I mean, they've been there and they will be there, I think. But I think we are at the time where we need answers, we need solutions how to address this. And given our field of operations, I think education or real estate education could be one of the pathways to help enhancing the skills of professionals, whether into the area of management or brokerage or both, ideally. Like you said, I mean, the terminology is not clear. I mean, as to what is this community management? Is it the same? Some people even they confuse their own role as property managers, while what they are doing is community management, in fact. So the not only the terminology, but the knowledge of these terms and how they mean in terms of their profession, even in terms of job description, really, it comes back to that, should be clarified. But then these challenges added to the ones that Ms. Hiba addressed earlier, do they need specific skills? Would developing certain skills is a paramount, is a sine qua non condition to go beyond these challenges? What do you think? Hiba, Jeevan, the floor is yours again.
You know, again, recognizing that, you know, we have limited time. There's many skills that I can go into, but I want to start with exactly the one skill, Dr. Marouane, that you just mentioned, in education, right? To be educated about your profession, be it brokerage, be it property management, be it community management, facility management. Education, knowledge is key for your success. It's key for you to be able to attract and retain clients, right? And even when we're talking about follow-up, the one way your client are going to appreciate being in touch with you is not if you just send them happy birthday, it's and try to sell them again, but it's actually when you send them knowledge, right? This is an update about what's happening in Dubai. And always, actually, one of the things that we have always focused on in our trainings is understanding, for example, real estate laws in Dubai and how they differ from emirate to emirate. You know, so a lot of people, they move to the UAE, they think I live in Sharjah, but I want to operate in Dubai. Are these operating under the same law? So we go into, you know, a good, I want to say, half hour of our courses were designed to explain the difference between each and every emirate and the laws, specifically when it applies to the real estate brokerage. You know, and again, to be not only educated about those laws, but to be educated about the changes. So back to the very point that I mentioned earlier under the challenges, which is the only constant in real estate market in Dubai is change itself, right? Yeah. So they're changing all the time. So you can't say, oh, I know that, and then not read up and not continuously educate yourself, right? Because laws are changing. As you know, Sheikh Mohammed very recently have announced many laws. And again, those laws pertaining to the real estate market, if anything, we're doing service to the real estate market in promoting investments in Dubai, making it easy for people to move and live in Dubai. And when people want to move to Dubai, of course, that's going to have a direct positive impact on real estate, whether we're talking about rent, whether we're talking about sale, purchase, whether we're talking about even short-term rentals, right? It's somehow anybody that comes to Dubai, whether they want to open up a business, whether they want to basically find a place to live, that's all pertains to real estate, right? So, for example, just to name a few, because there's so many of them, the golden visas, retirees visas, multi-entry long-term visa, investor visa, remote work visa, you know, these are just, you know, some of the initiatives announced and laws announced by Sheikh Mohammed that directly has a positive impact on real estate. So today, as an agent or as a brokerage agency, you need to know what basically are all the requirements in order for your clients to be able to move to Dubai under whatever work permit. Whereas, for example, once upon a time, when I first moved to Dubai, you know, 21 some years ago, and I can't believe it's been 21 some years ago, you know, it was just the one visa, the employment visa or the visit visa, where you get your 30 days and maybe or maybe not, you could have renewed it, right? So we have all these options now that all comes into or impacts real estate in a positive way. Educate yourself about them, try to figure out exactly, and of course, cater it to your clients' needs, right? So again, when I talk about you educating yourself, you need to understand also what your clients' needs are so you can educate them about what the requirements are. And change it in such a way where, just to give you, you know, again, one example, when we did the courses, for example, at DREI, we had a 4-day course. And we had kind of like a 1-day course, right? Why? Because someone that was new to Dubai, someone that was new to the real estate industry, we had to cater to their needs by giving them that, as Jeevan said, you know, starting from defining real estate to defining everything that goes into the brokerage aspect of the business. And then once you're 2-3 maybe years into the business, then we would give you more of an overview, just an update course, right? So back to education, back to being in charge of the knowledge, because this is what will make your clients see value in you.
Thank you, Hiba. So it's the knowledge that is beyond the knowledge of the property itself. I mean, absolutely, more than the knowledge of layouts and the technicality, accessibility, blah, blah, blah. So it's the knowledge that transcends that into the knowledge of where the city is heading, basically.
because to be honest with you, the details of the property, that's any client now with having access to the internet, right? They can look at any property listing portal out there. They can get all the details about the property. A lot of buyers, they come to you towards the end when they don't know the process. And this is where you as an agent or as a brokerage company can make your mark and pretend and show and actually demonstrate that you are the expert in that specific
absolutely property. Absolutely, totally agree. I can't agree with you anymore. Jeevan, anything to add on this skills that are needed in terms of, and I know in your field, I mean, there are lots of skills that are needed because people are still learning about community management and trying to understand what is this field. I mean, it seems like this is, and confirm me if I'm wrong, this is an area where it could be a good alternative for people thinking of a career move or who can't find themselves in brokerage, they move into community management. So we have a lot of preconceived ideas about this field of expertise. So what are the skills needed to succeed in this industry?
You see, you're absolutely right, Dr. Marouane, and I completely agree with everything that Hiba just said. This is a vast field, and it's very easy actually to move between these different facets. So you can remain in the real estate management space or the real estate industry, but you can easily either graduate or move laterally to within various different facets and profession. For example, if you're a broker, and this has happened many times before, by the way, several people who are brokers or leasing people have graduated to become community managers or moved into the facilities management field. It's also worked reverse. Several people in the community management fields have gone to be real estate agents, brokers, property managers, and so forth. So it's a very beautiful profession that you can seamlessly migrate between the various facets, if I can call it that. But it's a very important thing for us is first to understand the laws. And Hiba very rightfully mentioned the laws keep changing. And especially in our real estate market, as she said, that's the only constant. That change is the constant, right? Now, even in community management, we used to have a law 27 of 2007. By the way, that's the year this whole industry came about, 2007. But that law has now been superseded. Last year, a new law came out, Law 6 of 2019. Now, this law, while the spirit of this law is very similar to the older one, but there's a lot of stuff that has changed. A lot of new regulations, a lot of new terminologies. For example, we used to call it owners associations before. We don't call it owners association. They're called jointly owned properties. But I'm shocked to see that some of the biggest companies out here still call them owners associations. Actually, we're not supposed to call them owners association. They don't exist anymore. There are people who still call it the strata law. There is no such thing as a strata law in Dubai. There is one in DIFC, which is a different jurisdiction and a different law. But the law here is not called strata law. So when people come to me and say, oh, I manage owners association, I'm a strata manager, I fear for that person because obviously the person has not done their homework. They are not up to date on or what are the requirements of the new law. The other thing that worries me and where skills are definitely needed is the terminology, the technical terminology. For example, when we deal with clients, we talked about FCUs and AHUs and STPs and all these different jargons, right? But we as community managers, we have no clue what it means. And I've asked a lot of the community managers, what does an FCU mean? What does it do? What's an AHU? Oh yeah, I'm going to talk to my FM guy. I'll send my technical guy. But you don't need to have an engineering or architecture degree to learn these things. This is very easily learnable, right? So when we do our courses, we talk about the general technical terminologies. We got to know it. It's not really an option. If you're going to be managing the valuable real estate of owners, and don't forget, buying a property is probably the single most expensive decision you will make in your life, right? So you want to guard it. You want to make sure the property always grows in value. And if they're going to appoint you as a community manager or a property manager or a facilities manager, you've got to know what these things mean. So learning about these different terminologies are very important. The other skill that is very essential in not only in the real estate market, but anywhere is customer service. Dubai is a very customer-centric city, and the UAE is moving as a country towards customer centricity. We want to do what's right for the customer, but we got to learn what is customer service. We got to talk about things like empathy, listening skills, verbal and non-verbal communication. There was this guy, Albert Mehrabian, I don't know if anybody's heard of him, but he had this rule called the 7-38-55% rule, where he says 55% of your communication is body language, 38% is tone of voice, and only 7% is the spoken word. But we only focus on the 7%. We don't we don't think about the body language. We don't talk about the tone of voice. And when that happens, we lose our customers, right? So all these kind of skills are very learnable skills. This is not something that we are born with. This is something that we learn along the way. So by attending courses and including this webinar, hopefully you'll take away something that you can apply to your life. And another thing, Dr. Marouane and Hiba, you might agree with me, is about technology. Right? Technology today is leading the way. We all know that, right? So we can't turn around and say, we are real estate people. Technology is up to my IT guy. I don't know anything about this. No, we have to know, right? Social media today is no longer kids, kids arena. We used to always think, yeah, social media is for the kids. But I can tell you, my 78-year-old mother, she's an ace at WhatsApp and Facebook and Botim and Instagram. And that's the way she connects with all her grandkids and everybody on the world. So social media is such a critical aspect of what we do, not just to sell properties, by the way, but it's to connect to people. And people might complain on social media. That's okay if they complain, as long as we answer them. So for me, I look at, educating our customers, understanding the different laws, having an understanding of terminology, learning communication skills, social media skills. All these are part of the skills that are no longer optional. They are needed in today's market.
Absolutely. And I'll build on that point, Jeevan, which is really, technology and the technical terms are indeed mandatory. It's not an option anymore. Totally agree with that. I'll build on that and bridge it with the role of education. And here we'll go a bit more concretely, because we've been talking about knowledge earlier and skills that are needed by real estate professionals. But allow me to go in the third quarter of this session to go into a bit more details, as in these skills that are needed to address the challenges. Okay, fine. Now I recognize these skills that were mentioned by Hiba, by Jeevan throughout the session. Now, what kind of education is needed? Are we talking, for sure, we are not talking about master's degrees or PhDs in order to get these skills. But again, there is plenty of training courses in terms of soft skills, not real estate related, that are offered all around the city. But then again, what kind of education are we talking about? And here, I cannot stress enough the role of continuous education. Now, fine, we know continuous education is needed, but then where can I find it? What kind of courses suit me better? I know the audience and the real estate professional in general, they're having lots of questions in mind. What kind of courses are needed? Should I engage in terms of different set of modules, series of modules to get something at the end? What kind of certificates? The choice is there, and the real estate professionals sometimes are confused. Not only they don't know what kind of courses, they don't know also what kind of certificates are marketable and what kind of certificates are needed to build really those who are looking for the knowledge, not only the marketing side. They need what kind of knowledge is needed and where they can find it. So the floor is yours. You are the experts in the field. I have to remind the audience that both Jeevan and Hiba are real estate educators while they are practitioners in the same times. So the floor is yours to address this point.
To be honest with you, Dr. Marouane, the best way to answer your question is it depends on the person, right? It's exactly what I was trying to highlight a bit earlier. Your needs differ from one person to another, right? Now, granted, if you want me to put it in steps, I think everybody that is new to Dubai, new to real estate, you need to start with the certification courses. Why? Because these actually do a good job. And again, I say that just because I've been doing them for quite some time. And at the same time, based on the feedback that we've gotten from people. If you've been working for 10 years in the market and you take the certification course, you're going to find it a bit boring. You're going to say, Hiba, this is so repetitive. I've been there. I've done that. So it really depends. You start with the foundation course, a certification course that gives you a little bit of an overview what the market is, the laws, some of the soft skills. And then as you go further into your career, now you may want to just be, and I don't mean it in a bad way, I actually should not say you just may want to be an agent, but what I'm trying to say is some people start as a sales agent, and then they want to climb up the corporate ladder, right? They want to become CEOs of the company, or they want to become manager of a branch office. So you really need to sit with yourself as a professional. You need to be in control of your own destiny, and I don't want to be, talking here more on a psychological level. But for example, let's say you start with the foundation course. Now you know what you need to know, and now you want to figure out a way to market your product, right? So maybe you can take a course that basically only address, for example, what Jeevan and yourself were talking about, which is social media. Now being a huge part in our business. Just to give you an example of what some of the attendees might learn by taking some of those courses, for example, I can give you about maybe 4 tips, what to avoid from doing on social media that I see a lot of people are doing. First of all, you post on social media, but you don't interact with your followers. This is one of the biggest mistakes you can do. I can, for example, give you, again, I always try to use my own examples. So last year, with the shutdown and COVID, not that I want to highlight COVID, for the first time, I decided that I need to be more active on social media. Why wasn't I before? Simply because I didn't have the time. I was traveling, I was all over the place, I was busy at work, So I thought, you know what? There's a need for people to hear from me and to continue to hear from me. So I started posting on LinkedIn. I chose one social media channel. I mastered it, which is, again, takes me to the next issue, which is there's so many people that are all over the place. You don't need to do that. You don't need to have presence on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat. And now what is it? Reel, or God knows what it is, right? TikTok. You don't need to do that. Pick one. It can be, maybe Instagram is your thing. Maybe your followers that are more of a professional followers, know that specific platform. So pick one and interact. So basically what I'm trying to say is when I started being very busy on LinkedIn, sharing knowledge and updates about what was happening with Dubai Land Departments, I kind of opened up a can of worms, because then people were expecting me to stay in touch with them by messaging me sometimes at 3 hours in the morning, or if we're dealing with an international, market, they were sending me questions at, again, 3 in the morning. The most important thing is you need to answer those questions, right? Because now you've put yourself out there. So interacting with your clients, don't spread yourself too thin, don't be everywhere. Pick one and be, good at it. And don't use it as and again, I'm talking about brokerage. Don't use it as a way to list your property, please. This is not a listing portal. This is another thing that drives me crazy. Social media is not a listing portal. It's about you, again, using a way to market yourself, educate your clients about what you do, your company, your areas of expertise. And last but not least, don't expect short-term gains out of your social media presence. This is something you need to invest in. With time, people are going to realize that what you say has value, and they'll learn to basically, hopefully at the end, work with you. And that would translate hopefully into, I guess, money or commission, or, so this is just to give you a brief about how you can learn. I mean, this is what, like 5 minutes that I've talked. So if social media is what you need, then you go on to IE, and hopefully this is what we're hoping to provide our participants and everybody out there in the real estate community with these type of courses. You may want to have more knowledge about community management, and I'll leave that to Jeevan to maybe elaborate on.
Just before we started this session, I was talking to Hiba personally, and I was talking about why continuous education is such a critical thing, because as many of you know, I'm a qualified architect, but I studied architecture way back when, and we had no such thing as computer-aided design, as in CAD. We never had computers. I mean, having a computer was only for scientists and doctors in major hospitals. So we learned to design everything, at a T-square and a drawing board, and developing our buildings and perspectives and stuff like that. But fast forward several years later, when I was in the job market and CAD drawings and all, I was lost. I had to actually go for a course to learn about what is CAD and how to use the computer. I was never great at it, but I had to learn it. I didn't have a choice. If I had not done that, I would not have a job. It's as simple as that. And it's the same thing for us. We have to continuously upgrade ourselves. We have to continuously go for courses, whatever the course that it may be, but we need to do it. And when we go for the certification courses and we get those certification or the credentials, and Dr. Marouane was talking about all my long credentials, but I can tell you one thing, two things come out of that. One is, of course, you're upgrading yourself. You're satisfied that you are getting the training that you need to perform your job. But more importantly, it's giving comfort to your customer. It's like when you enter any doctor's cabin anywhere in the world, the first thing you'll see behind the doctor is all the different certificates that he's got, MD and MBS and surgery and whatever. Those certificates are not there for the doctor to make himself good. The certificates are there for you, right? As a patient, that when you enter the doctor's cabin, you look at the certificates and say, okay, this man or this doctor, this woman knows what he or she is talking about, and I'm comfortable getting my medication or my treatment from this doctor because he or she has all the relevance. It's a very similar thing, right? And so Hiba rightfully mentioned an opportunity to market yourself. So when you have these courses and you have these certifications, you have this designation, it really helps you in the market. And I do a lot of recruiting, by the way, because I'm a consultant, I do recruiting for a lot of companies, and invariably the clients always tend to choose those people that have some designation, have some degree, have some qualification. When they have to compare equal to equal, they'll go for that person, right? Now, it also depends on what kind of profession you want to follow. So as I said, in real estate management, there are different professions. Now, every profession has its own set of requirements, own set of certification. For example, community management, which is, I'm the professional. We have, for example, the M100, which is the de facto standard, right? If you do not do the M100, you cannot even be considered as a basic community management profession. You don't have to be a community manager, but it's a community management profession. Once you do the M100, by the way, that is required even to get a license. And then there are the 200 series classes. When you complete the 600 series classes, you can then apply for other credentials like CMCA, Certified Manager of Communications, of Community Associations, Association Management Specialist, AMS, then LSM, Large Scale Manager, and then PCAM, Professional Community Association Manager. All these credentials give you that comfort in front of your employer or your customer, saying that, okay, this person has a commitment to education. And just getting those certifications, those credentials is not enough, because the issuing body like CAM ICB in the US or CAI, they will want you to get what you call continuous education credits, right? You got to prove to them that you are educating yourselves. Otherwise, you're not going to be recertified. So it keeps you on your toes as well. So you have to decide what profession you want to follow, and you can also move your profession, right? So getting a CMCA, for example, does not stop you from getting into the facilities management profession, and neither does stop you from getting into the brokerage profession. In fact, it enhances your offering, right? People will somehow trust you more, saying that, okay, you already have a certification in another part of the profession, and now I'm buying a property from you. You do understand what the management is about. So anything that we do, believe me, anything that we do is only going to make it better for us, better for our employers, and better for our customers.
Thank you very much, Jeevan. Thank you, Hiba, again, for these very valuable insights. We got a number of questions from our respected audiences. I'm going to just raise these 2 or 3 questions to close the session with. The first one, Mr. Mohammed Sadiq has been asking twice now. His question is very operational nature, is when the Dubai Land Department will reopen online property transfer. Well, I do recognize that we are not spokespeople for Dubai Land Department, but if you have the information, please feel free, Jeevan and Hiba. The question is when the Dubai Land Department will reopen the online property transfer. I'm not
So the only
aware of.
information, as you said, Dr. Marouane, we're not necessarily today in a position to be a DLD spokesperson, but from what I understand is, again, recognizing the importance and the materiality of the real estate transaction before they allow it to happen remotely, the transfer. There are many steps that needs to be done in order to make sure that they protect all the parties' interests. I know they're considering it, but I can't give a date because, again, this is not something that I have direct control over.
Sure. Thank you so much, Hiba. Moving on to the second question, apart from the challenge that one of our participants said about clients not being able to complete their payment as of today, how can we handle that? If you have any insight regarding this, clients who can't complete their payment because they are not located in Dubai, how can we sort that as of now?
Well, that's where we see the use of power of attorneys, right? Yeah. So in that case, they have to appoint power of attorneys, and they can basically do the transaction through them. Again, keep in mind that the remote transfer only happened during the lockdown during COVID. So how did we operate before that? It's pretty much the same way. Power of attorneys, as much as I necessarily don't think a lot highly of them, sometimes they make the transaction harder, but this is what the tool that you have to use right now.
Yeah. For now, that's the only alternative, waiting for a complete online solution to bypass that.
You got to understand, Dr. Marouane, is that the DLD wants to protect all parties. So the safety and securities is very, very critical in this. And so we must abide by the law. Sometimes we may not be comfortable, or we might wonder why, but there is a bigger picture out there, because there is a lot of fraud that can happen, and these are high priced items, right? You can't take a chance on this. So it is better to be safe and secure. We must be legal at all times, right? No matter what we say, every jurisdiction is different. Every city, every country is different. Every country has different laws. Just because it applies in your home country doesn't mean it applies here. We have to abide by the law. And whatever the law is, and I can promise you, I've lived in different parts of the world. I teach in different parts of the world. And Dubai and the UAE is probably one of the best places. That's why this is my home, and not the US or Canada or Spain or any. This is my home because we have robust laws, and we as responsible residents and citizens, we must abide by those laws.
Yeah, thank you, Jeevan. Elizabeth is asking, where can we learn on the technicalities of properties in Dubai? Well, I'm not sure what she meant by technicalities of the properties, but she's wondering, where can we learn from these technicalities? I'm sure she's asking, beyond brochures or simple brochures, where can she learn about the technicalities of its project?
Okay, so I can answer that one way. It's, of course, everything is available on Google. So Google University is very easy. If you do a quick search on, facilities management terms or, assets in a building, you will find plenty of such information. There's a plethora of them. But in our classes that we do conduct, we always talk about these different main assets of the building. Like in M100, it's a basic fundamental course. Right, it talks about the different aspects of your community. We have M201, I think it is, which is called the facilities management course. And in that particular course, we talk about all the different assets for in a building or in a community. But these courses are, for example, not for technical people. So they are for general people. In what we have in the CAI program, we have different courses specific to that need. For example, we have communication, we have leadership, we have what is called risk management. So they're all the different areas of responsibility, as I talked about, which are geared. We talk about those specific areas, and we try to update our students on those areas. Then there's nothing that can, of course, supersede your own research and development as you go along.
And I'll add just one thing. Sorry, Dr. Marouane. Sure. And Elizabeth, it's always good to have you pretty much in every platform we conduct business on. So it's good to always hear from you. But Elizabeth, just maybe on a brokerage side, quickly, right? So if you're talking about how do you learn about a project, you know what? Be proactive. Go. Visit that sales center, learn about, ideally you should have, for example, your company should be inviting, right, those developers to come in and brief you. But if not, right, then you be proactive. Don't wait for the information to come to you. Go visit, build relationship with these, even from the reception up to the salesperson, up to the sales director. If you're talking about a resale of a specific community, I'm sure your company will have a database of many listings. So you're not stealing the listing, I'm sure your company will have proper policy in place, but go with that agent that works with you and shadow them, right? Go visit. The best way to learn is to go visit that property, so you can learn whether you're looking into the technical aspect or I guess the specific, for example, properties pertaining to that specific property. You have to be proactive.
Absolutely, totally. I mean, there is no alternative to hands-on experience. Go and visit, see the property on your own
and feel eyes. It, because
property, absolutely.
Right, you just need to feel. I mean, when I used to want to sell a property, it was always about how it made me feel. And when people like you and trust you, right, when your client, they want to feel the same way. And it's just it's a whole different way of selling, really.
Absolutely. And that's where the skills of empathy and listening and all those comes into this very important aspect of selling.
Correct. Saad is asking, what is the best criteria to control your staff knowledge? Well, I'm not sure what is meant by control your staff knowledge, but what is the best criteria to maybe he meant enhance staff knowledge, skills, and meeting them with the market requirements. So as a company,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. As a company, how to fine tune your staff skills, let's say, to the reality of the market. I think I reframed his question. Sorry, Saad. Yes.
And I think it goes back to the same thing, that it's not only developing yourself and it's developing your staff. And I'm very, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a consultant with many top companies, and one of the things I always do is about employee engagement and also transferring of knowledge and upgrading and upskilling all of them. It's very important that not only we upskill ourselves, but we upskill all the colleagues around us, all the staff around us, because you're only as strong as your team, right? If you are very good at what you do, but your team is not as good as what you do, it really doesn't serve its purpose. So it's important for us to educate our staff. And how do we educate it? Either we educate them ourselves, but if we don't have the either the time or the knowledge or the capabilities, then we send them to an institute like this, where we tell them that go for these classes. Not only will you get educated, but you will bring that education back to us. And I was very grateful to MR Properties. I mean, I worked there for 15 years. They sent me to all the education that I needed, absolutely free of charge for me as well. They paid for it. But what I did in return, I brought that knowledge and I enhanced the company. And they were better for it. So both, it's a win-win situation. They got the knowledge and I got the knowledge. So in getting your staff trained is not only the right thing to do, but it also makes good business sense.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Another question from Imran, very practical, straightforward. What is, since we mentioned social media and it's important in real estate, not to say brokerage only, but what is the best social platform to promote real estate? Any advice? As a channel, I think what is the best interface?
I think indirectly I answered that. I did say, it's really whatever platform you have the professional network on, right? So for example, a lot of people get offended that I don't accept them into my Instagram, right? But that's just me. Like if you want to see my kids and what I do, what I eat, maybe you need to follow me on Instagram. But I'm not going to accept your invite if you really want my real estate experience or expertise or where I do my webinars. This is what LinkedIn is all about, right? So I don't want to say LinkedIn could be, because unfortunately, a lot of people now are misrepresenting LinkedIn as a dating site now, which is like horrible. I see those posts and it just drives me crazy. But again, you have to decide. I've seen so many. Actually, one of the international real estate broker that is a friend with me. I follow her on Instagram, and she's done an amazing job turning that into more her professional network. So I really think it matters in terms of where your followers that are more of a professional background are versus your friends, and you have to choose that. But pick one, learn it, and then maybe have your own YouTube channel. I don't know, but just this is my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I just want to add,
there are some influencers. Sorry, Jeevan, there are some influencers who are actually promoting themselves, and the result of that is they are selling, but they're definitely promoting themselves on their own YouTube channel. They have lots of followers.
Absolutely. I just wanted to add to that. One thing is that it depends on where is your target audience, right? So if your target audience is, for example, on LinkedIn, if you are looking at up and coming professionals, then maybe LinkedIn. If you're looking at millennials and younger people, then maybe it's Instagram, right? If you're looking at, very hip people, love to music and dance, maybe it's TikTok. So it really depends on your audience. The point is, who can afford to buy your properties? Are those kids can afford to buy your property? And if you're going to be put on a social media channel that caters to kids, maybe that's the wrong channel for you to put it, right? Or maybe it is because you're targeting them not today, but you're targeting them 6 years later. Then maybe. So it really depends on your strategy. Another thing that Dr. Marouane said, which is very important, is that when you are on such, and even Hiba alluded to it earlier, when you're on such channels like LinkedIn or any other social media channel, you're not there to sell something, right? You're there to provide a value. You're providing a value. And some of these influencers, what they're doing is they're providing a value. They're telling people, this is the way you should think. This is the way you should believe. This is what I believe. This is what, motivational messages and stuff. And when you start listening and following these people, they begin to influence your way of thinking. That's why they're called influencers, right? And then they tell you that, you should buy a property because that property is going to sustain you in the long run. By the way, I know some good properties, and you're more willing to listen to this influence or this brand ambassador because that person has already provided you value time and time again. You've got to know him or like her. And so we've got to be very careful when you talk about social media. You don't want to look trashy because it's going to work against you, right? And I agree with Hiba. There's a lot of trash out there, and it's actually going to backfire because nobody wants to deal with trashy people at the end of the day. It's going to affect you in your job as well. So you've got to be careful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The last question is asked by Ronan. He's asking, what is the process of removing a company that fails to carry out their duties in managing the building? Is that possible?
It is very much possible. So a community management company is actually regulated, very tightly regulated by RERA. There are certain compliance requirements. They have to fulfill certain criteria. They have to have good customer service credentials. They need to do, some kind of customer service. If they are not doing a good job, now it depends on what you mean by not doing a good job, because it's not just the owners who can say, I'm not happy with them because the service charges are too high. That's not a reason, right? You can say that they are not performing the services they've been contracted to perform. Then the owners, via what we call an owners committee, and that has changed from the previous law. Previously, we used to have what we call a board. Now the board, there's no board. We call it an owners committee. The owners committee can go together to RERA and make a petition and say that this community manager or this jointly owned property manager is not fulfilling his duties and the scope of work that he's been contracted to. RERA will take a very hard look at it. They will do their independent investigation. And if it is found, and I know there are several companies like that who've been asked to leave, if they are found not to be doing what they were supposed to be doing, or there is some fraud allegation, they will be thrown out and another company can be brought in. So that is very much possible. Absolutely. It's not only possible, but it's happened.
Yes, so we're I think by this, I think we answered all the questions that were raised by the audience, and we reached the closing remarks. So I'm gonna, while I thank everyone from the audience and our esteemed guests, not guests, they are actually, you are our mentors, our advisors, and you are part of the family of IE. We all, on behalf of IE Institute, we thank everyone from the audience who have been with us, who asked the questions, who enriched the discussion. It's been quite a light one, very engaging, let's say, and thank you for respecting the time frame. I think we started 3 sharp, now we are at 4 sharp. So I just leave the floor to closing remarks by Hiba, Jeevan, while I thank you both for your time, your very valuable advices, and for engaging with our audience. We really appreciate that. And I leave the floor to you, Hiba and Jeevan, for your closing remarks.
Well, first, just allow me to thank you, Dr. Marouane, for also doing a great job facilitating and moderating this session. Saji and Mohammed for making this possible. We're also extremely happy to be part of the IE family. I'm all about families, so being part of more families brings me an honor and great pleasure. And one thing I have to say casually, I honestly really enjoyed today's interaction. Jeevan, you made it even more interesting. I really appreciate to have someone with your massive knowledge, expertise, and just the way of presenting the information in an engaging and easy way for people to understand and connect. It was good to see people like Rana, Elizabeth, Nat, just to name a few. Ronan, I know all of you guys have been with me through the past, my experience also and my past career. So thank you for being on board, and I'd leave it to Jeevan with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Hiba.
Thank you, Hiba, for your beautiful words, and I feel exactly the same way. It's good to be back with you after a very long time. Somehow this gap, has pushed us together socially, but we're still virtually very close. So that's very nice. And of course, a lot of familiar faces in the audience. Great to see everybody here, and it feels good. I mean, as teachers, what we are, we want our students to come up, and we want our students to be happy. We want them to be knowledgeable. We want them to, get better jobs. And I'm constantly, a lot of the students are reaching out to me, sending me their CVs. I'm very happy to say that I've got several of them jobs, not because I did anything special, but they were good and they just deserved an opportunity. And I really want to thank Dr. Marouane for, moderating, and of course, Saji and Mohammed for, putting on this great show. I just want to leave everybody with these 5 R's. The first R is to stop reacting. The situation is bad, stop reacting. And then you have the 4 R's, which is to review, look at what you're doing, relearn, time to look at everything that you've done before and try to relearn things, then refresh yourself, get ready for this new challenge, and finally relaunch yourself, relaunch your career. There's a lot of stuff out there. Believe you me, there are companies looking out for people like you. There are customers looking out for people like you. You just got to relaunch and present yourself. All the very best, and I look forward to meeting everybody again.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for your time, and see you next time, we hope. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.